It's been a couple weeks, but I'm back. Moving done, proper internet to be installed soon, sleep schedule a mess, war ongoing, but it's a minor inconvenience for day-to-day life. Just a quick bit of housekeeping before we get going. Due to my current work schedule, I'm going to, for a while at least, plan on doing one video like this every other week, and try to do a simpler to edit video, or stream, on the off weeks. So stay tuned to community posts for more details there. No official sponsor this time, but this video is brought to you by my own light novel series, Light Into Another World. Volume 10 just released. So if you enjoy that genre, or just fantasy adventure stories in general, go check it out. Now, on to the video. Continuing from where we left off with our character analyses, today we'll be taking a look at Anchovy's two lieutenants, Carpaccio and Pepperoni. Like we saw with Kay and her lieutenants, Naomi and Alisa, Carpaccio and Pepperoni are both very different people, and serve their commanders in different ways, both of them useful, at least most of the time. Yes, even Pepperoni, despite her multitude of screw-ups. And while their time on screen is fairly limited as well, they're invested with more than enough character to help them stand out when they are around. As usual, here's your spoiler warning for anything involving Ezio, aka their OVA and stuff from their film and beyond. That taken care of, let's get into the analysis. A good way to look at these two is to describe them almost as two different sort of right hands to a dictator or other absolute ruler. They do work for Duce, after all. Let's start with Pepperoni. She's very much the yes man sort of assistant. You know, the type of almost sycophantic follower who looks up to and practically worships the great leader, and constantly puffs them up. If it's the leader's idea, it must be great because it came from them. These types of people also don't think for themselves quite as much as they could or should, and that often leads to some problems. As a result, much of the humor surrounding Pepperoni therefore centers around her small-brained moments, and her just parroting everything Anchovy says, even if it's a bit silly. However, as with all the characters in Girls und Panzer, there is more to her than that. Pepperoni is also a very pleasant, cheerful, and energetic person, and really comes off as someone who would be fun to hang around with. Though this of course also could get her in a bit of trouble, as her outgoing nature led to her revealing some secrets to Yukari. And while partaking in sensual matches, Pepperoni becomes fairly aggressive, showing a different, competitive side of her. While this aggression also contributes to those small-brained moments we mentioned earlier, it is something you want in a commander of the team's fast, mobile tankettes. She really is trying her best, even if that doesn't always translate into, well, effective results. Circling back to her yes-man position regarding everything Anchovy says and does, while that easily can reinforce poor decisions or incorrect choices on the leader's part, every leader does need someone in their corner who is there to support them no matter what. Though you obviously want them to be a little more willing to be a bit more honest. But considering Anchovy does seem to have a bit of an inferiority complex, at least in regard to the capabilities of Enzio's Senshiro team, that sort of support is probably very welcome. Oh yeah, and Pepperoni's also an excellent driver. All those stunts in their film on the roller coaster tracks could not have been easy, not to mention that skip across the water. And she's a good cook too. Whatever she does, Pepperoni puts all her effort and energy into it. And speaking of being more honest when it comes to incorrect or silly things people around her say, in stark contrast to Pepperoni, and also to Anchovy herself, Carpaccio is a very polite, reserved, calm, and quiet girl. She's also very level-headed, and doesn't hesitate to question, or even outright contradict, things both Anchovy and Pepperoni say at times, though she does so in a calm, polite way, so that no insult is ever taken, assuming they even notice her critique. Her very calm presence will do that. She's far from emotionless, though, as we see her genuine happiness when she runs into her childhood friend, Caesar, and Carpaccio does have a bit of a competitive streak, which we also see largely through her relationship with Caesar, as they kind of set themselves up as rivals. The fact that they're both loaded as themselves helps there, making it a very direct matchup. She really manages to find that ideal balance between competitiveness and calm collected awareness and analysis of what's going on. Returning to that view of her as a right hand to an absolute leader, Carpaccio slots a lot better into the ideal advisor a leader should have, if not the one they typically want to have. She's certainly loyal and supportive. She's willing to use her own tank as a distraction in the battle versus Ori, for example, but she's also very willing to point out things that are wrong. Anchovy typically ignores this, given her Chuni Duce persona, at least in the scenes we see, but it's certainly implied that, when it comes to planning, that the more tactical and level-headed of her vice commanders plays a big part in this, and it's therefore fitting that Carpaccio is in a Semovente, arguably Enzio's most effective tank. Well, tank destroyer. In their film, of course, is where we get to see this trio at its best, crammed into a tiny CV-33 and playing the role of underrated MVP of that match. I'll talk more about just how important their contribution to the Dare film battle was in a separate, more Dare film-centric video, but what matters for now is just how well they work together, despite some friendly bickering, and each displays her best qualities here. Pepperoni with her excellent daring driving, Carpaccio staying level-headed and very aware of what's going on, and Anchovy, as we mentioned back in her solo character analysis, being in charge and coming up with creative plans despite their very limited resources here. While Anzio still isn't the most effective team in the show, mainly because of most of their tanks being tankettes, their three-headed command structure, for lack of a better term, does serve them well, with aspects of both Pepperoni and Carpaccio's personalities contributing to their accomplishments, and of course being super fun to watch. There's just something about the Anzio girls that really commands your attention while they're on screen, and their interactions in particular are just very fun to watch. Whether it's Pepperoni and her boundless energy and the humor that comes from her small-brained moments, or Carpaccio essentially playing the straight man around more eccentric characters like Anchovy and Pepperoni, and the competitive or cute moments when she lets other aspects of her personality shine, they're both great. The two side heads on Anchovy's three-headed King Ghidorah. Sorry Pepperoni, but the head you represent was predetermined from the start. If you enjoyed this video and would like to support me and what I do here, my books and light novels are all available on Amazon. And you can get early access to videos, sneak peeks, and updates on my upcoming manga and other projects by subscribing over on Patreon. And while the Kickstarter for Amaranth Angels has successfully come to a close, I may launch a secondary campaign elsewhere to give anyone who missed out another chance to get on board. And, of course, if you have any thoughts on this video or just anything Girls and Panzer related you'd like me to talk about, definitely share them below in the comments section. I love to hear them, and I read every comment and respond to as many as I can. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future uploads. That's all for now, so until next time.